Hey everybody. One of the most important things that I could ever talk to you about is to stick to your guns when you have a gut feeling that something is right. Something that I see far too often, I'm going to give a specific example in a moment, is sticking to your gut. We all have a gut feeling. Our gut is our second brain. It's directly related to our brain. We have as many brain cells in our gut as a dog and a cat does in their brain. And we all know cats and dogs are pretty smart. So this specific example I'm about to give related to a young man. He came into the ER and he knows the system because he had C. diff. If you don't know what C. diff is, it's usually caused by, the overwhelming majority of times, it's caused by overprescription of antibiotics. Antibiotics kills your good bacteria and your bad bacteria. For those of you who also don't know, we do have good and bad bacteria in our guts, and it wipes out. It's like a low-grade chemo. And this is causing a lot of problems within the hospital scene. And so what happens is you get that dysbiosis, we get the uneven proportion, and because of that, what's going to happen is your immune system gets weak, and you get what's called C. diff. And it's an awful, awful thing to deal with. And so what happens is it's usually uncontrollable diarrhea. If you know someone who's dealt with it, it's awful. If you don't know, stay away from it. If you hear the word C. diff, you have to wear special gowns, special gloves. We have to use bleach to kill the bacteria, and it's just absolutely awful. So this young man came in. It was his 9th time having C. diff, and this is way too many times for somebody this young to be dealing with this. And that's why I need to use this specific example. So he came to the ER for nausea, vomiting, and obviously uncontrollable diarrhea. Super nice kid. And so him and I start talking, and I say, hey, why are you here? And he tells me exactly what I just said, 9th time having C. diff. And he says, listen, can you check the notes in the system? Do the doctors have any really specific reason? Because the doctors I've been working with outside of the hospital, they told me to watch how much radiation I'm getting. And him and I start talking. And so just to make this very short, I tell him, give me 1 minute. I'm going to go see if there's any specific reason, because off the top of my head, no. If you're having just C. diff symptoms, there's really no reason to give your body radiation unless there's, like I said, a really good reason. And I said, I applaud you, because not enough people ask questions, not enough people know what they're getting into, and they just go with the flow. I said, so for you knowing what's wrong with your body and being able to digest this information and be able to relay with us as medical professionals, I applaud you. So give me 1 minute. I come back a couple minutes later, I look into things, it just says, his notes say nausea, vomiting, diarrhea, C. diff, exactly what him and I were talking about. Nothing new. So I tell him, I agree with you in this case. I really do. To be honest, we're just going to be giving your body radiation that your body doesn't need. We already know what's causing the C. diff. And he says, yeah, I'm on what's called Flagyl. And Flagyl is a very, very strong antibiotic, and stronger than the other ones. And somebody in his case, on top of the radiation that his body isn't going to need, the Flagyl, which is the antibiotic, is just going to wipe out your body even worse than it already is. So instead of working on the good bacteria and reestablishing good bacteria with probiotics, prebiotics, we're only focusing on killing the bad, treating fire and treating it with fire, and making this poor kid's situation even worse. And it just kills me inside. So I tell him, no, I'm going to get you back, and I'm going to tell your nurse, I'm going to tell your doctor that you respectfully refuse this, and I've got you. So anyways, I come back the next day. I see that there's notes on this young man's chart that 2 other people had tried to get him down for his CAT scan while he was in the ER. Still no go. So okay. And then so later that day, we get a call from the nurse saying, hey, he's agreeing to it. He comes down. So I asked him when he did come down for his CAT scan, I say, what did they do? What did they talk to you about? How did they convince you that this was needed? And he said, it's really, really hard when you're young, even if you do have specific knowledge about what's going on in your body as I do. He said it's really, really hard when you have 7 doctors coming at you and telling you that they need this. And they told him that he had something going on, and when I actually looked at his chart, he didn't have that going on. And so that's another problem I have, is that I see people get told things that aren't really specific to their health care, and bullying is a strong word, but at the same time, I just got to call it for what it is. People are getting bullied into doing things, and without getting off topic, I see people within the ER where if they come down, they don't want something, we agree with them, we say, no, this is radiation your body doesn't need, this is an unnecessary test for you, and we bring them back. they'll come back an hour or 2 hours later, and we say, what changed? And they say, well, they handed me a piece of paper that says, it's called AMA, Against Medical Advice. They say, you had to get this test, or you have to sign this paper saying that you're being discharged AMA, Against Medical Advice. And while I get it from one end, because you can't follow that train of thought that the physicians have, it's difficult when they're coming at you and saying that you need this, but you and your gut know that it's unnecessary. And he said, listen, honestly, it's not about the money, it's about my body, and it's about me being this young and having this many problems in my gut. Is this radiation necessary? Is this imaging going to show something that I don't already know what's going on? And I told him, no, it's not. And so anyways, he said, let's get it done with. I haven't had a CAT scan in this amount of time. I realize it's radiation in my body, but at the same time, it's only furthering my care, prolonging it, if you will, if I don't get this done. So I can't get this done and this done until they have me have my CAT scan. So let's get it done. So I said, okay. So we do the CAT scan, and he just had this look on his face of just disappointment. And you could tell he just was let down, because I know it was two full days he was resisting this. But at the same time, when you have C. diff that bad, you're not going to be able to leave the hospital. So you're in this catch-22, and it's just something that stuck with me for the last couple of days that I felt was worth sharing with everybody. And it's no fault to our physicians. We only know what we're taught classically, and that's to follow certain specific steps. And if we step outside that standard of care and actually give information to people and actually give people ways to deal with these things, then we're looked at as wrong. And I could go in many different directions with this conversation from that exact statement. And that's all I'm going to say for this video. And it's just really, really crazy to think about that. We think that we know everything about the body, but think about like an iceberg, when they say the Titanic, they only hit the tip of the iceberg, they only hit that 10%. That's absolutely true with healthcare. It's absolutely true with healthcare. We only know this much about the human body and physiology, and there's this much below the the surface for what we still don't understand, what we need to know about the body. So there's this no nonsense mentality that goes behind it, and that's that we are trained, we know everything, and that there's, like I said, there's a no-nonsense policy, and it really affects people's care, because there are better ways to go about things, and oftentimes they're cheaper, they're more effective, and they don't have side effects that come along with it. But because we're caught up in this healthcare model, and a lot of people aren't apt to change, they're not open-minded, they think that they've been through school and then that's it. And I'm talking about healthcare professionals, period. And so it's a real shame to see these young people being affected, people who are younger than me, and it's not just the young generations, but I feel like the young generations, and pardon me for the older people who are watching this, that we see what's going on with chemo, we see what's going on with our parents, our grandparents, with the healthcare costs, and we're not afraid to speak up, and we're not afraid to make changes within our body. And we are starting with the diet, the strongest driver of health, and we're letting it grow from there. So I'm going to wrap this one up. I hope you guys got some value from this. And the whole theme about this is if you know something is not right for your healthcare, don't do it. Stick to your guns. Get somebody else who can back you up and can give you that moral support, because he was there. He was 98% there, but they just kept knocking on the door, knocking on the door, knocking on the door, and he was caught in it, because he at this point he's not going to be allowed to leave the hospital in the state he was in. But at the same time, he didn't know what other treatments, what other options were available to him naturally that could actually help take care of this problem and actually help reestablish this bacteria in his body. And so we're only fighting fire with fire at this point, with more and worse antibiotics. So this kid is just going to go down this awful hole of healthcare. Like I said, it's nobody's fault except the system that's been put in place over the years. And we need to wake up and realize that these things are medically induced. These things happen from our education and our training and our actions within the healthcare system. And unless we open our hearts and open our minds to real change and real positivity, then these things aren't going to happen. So anyways, I hope we all got some mental clarity from this. I want to see a positive direction come from this, and I want to see great healthcare come from this. I'm not demeaning anybody. I'm simply pointing out what's wrong, and I'm simply offering suggestions to a future of better healthcare, safer, cheaper, more effective. And who doesn't want that? And who doesn't want more options? And if you still want to go the antibiotic route, or if you want to go the natural route, or if you want to go any other route, it's up to you. But who doesn't want the information? And then that way you as a patient, you as a family member, you as a loved one can make that decision all on your own. So as always, protect yourselves, and I'll see you on the next one. Take care. Be healthy, all.